Grand Rising, everybody. Hope everyone's doing well. Give everybody a chance to get in up in here. Grand Rising, everyone. Hope everyone can hear me. Throw some ones up if you can hear my voice. I want to check the levels. We're going to be continuing with the Indian Wars. Continue the American Revolution. I hope everyone's having a great rising. And throw them ones up if you can hear my voice. Mic check, mic check. Okay, I'm trying to figure out why. ahead and start over again. Give me a second, we'll be right back.
The error it was saying error on what part?
It would just give me an error on the screen, on the YouTube screen.
Oh no, if the YouTube's showing you error, but it's still showing what you call it, that's YouTube signal.
I'm on the speed test right now.
Make sure on my desktop.
Say what?
The live stream on my end just stopped.
No, because I stopped it. That's why.
All right.
So I'm gonna start it back. I just started it back up.
They had a bad area delay.
Yeah, I'm in a bad area. My upload is horrible, dude. Yeah, I'm only getting 0.79 upload.
You say 0.7?
0.79.
Yeah, I might have to do it on my end. But if you're getting 0.7, yeah. You mess around, open one more window.
Let me make myself a host on the phone. And no, I can't do that because if I do that, it's gonna kill everything.
If anything, send the host part to me then on Zoom.
That's what I do.
My computer can handle the hosting, but conversation, that'll give you some more bandwidth back.
So which one am I making the host? The show or you?
Let me do it this way.
So I'm gonna make you the host and the co-host.
Right. Yeah, because the show is okay. I got it to the show part. Or that'll handle the bandwidth part.
I'm over here. Get some crazy flames. Hold on. Check YouTube. Shutting down some of these windows. Give me a second.
Okay, did it just replay over the original one?
Say again?
You said you started it back, right?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah, it just replayed it over the one that you stopped on.
You said just replayed it over it?
Yeah, took the same people in the room and didn't miss a beat. I'm actually looking at it like shocked, like wow. Unless the signal's delayed so bad to me that I'm still watching the first stream on one device.
Still like it's nothing's changed.
Yeah, like it never stopped. I ain't complaining. I don't say new back.
Look, they can still hear us though.
Oh. Hey, y'all. And that's more validation that we real people doing this. We ain't no robots.
Exactly.
Oh, by the way, they don't realize we're doing a special remote recording this ride. You're not even in your... normal...
I'm shaking his head.
Look, we're here for that. We normal people? Oh, man.
Let's see these windows up. Grand Rising also.
Grand Rising to the sky. We're getting everything situated. We actually broadcasting from multiple locations this rising.
Again, hope everyone's doing well.
Well, I don't think we got to worry about me and TMH being the ones that saying something crazy with the mic off. I think no sellout take that hands down. We're going to get that to him.
What? What? You talking about yesterday or did I do something else?
See?
Man, what happened?
Your brother known that you had an altercation. You don't let him know you done did it already. Now he was talking about how me and TMH was talking with the mic still on.
He was working with these technical difficulties.
I'm in the chat. Okay, that wasn't in the chat. Okay. Grand Rising, everybody.
You heard your brother Dominique, put that shovel down. I needed that laugh, yo. I say that's how it be. For all of us who have children, we know how that go. Like you say anything.
Tony will tell you about a story that includes a shovel from when he was their age.
Alright, so we're going to pick up where we left off with the American Revolution. Or the American Revolutionary War. The chapter we were on with the Catawba. Chapter C.A.B. Hot Trial, one of yours, anyway. Said he was talking about no cell at an early age. Alright, so I'm gonna go ahead and start reading where we left off from the
Like I was saying before to the chat, we are actually experimenting locations. I don't know if you wanted the community to know that you're on location, but
oh yeah, I'm in New Orleans. So where today gonna be looking up with
Miss Rising, New Orleans.
say again?
I'm switching devices on back stable, back in my office, man.
So now I'm in New Orleans. I'll be meeting up with C.A.B later on this evening. So we're gonna be hanging out a little bit. She's gonna show us some of the sights around Louisiana because this be our first time here. So I'm excited to be here. Yeah, had some work down here to do. So hopefully be able to share some information with y'all, let y'all know what's going on, and have an opportunity to talk to some of the tribes here. So that's the goal. I rise the Marlin. So let me pick up with the C.A.B. Again, we're going to be covering the American Revolutionary War and the topic we're speaking on today. We're going to pick up where we left off with the C.A.B. So we'll pick up from where the history, and I'll go ahead and put the link in the chat. All right. So if you scroll down to history, once you click on the link, you'll be able to see I'm in the second paragraph where it talks about Albert Gallatin, 1836, classified the C.A.B. as a separate, distinct group among Siouan tribes. When the linguist Albert Samuel Gatschet visited them in 1881 and obtained a large vocabulary showing numerous correspondence with Siouan linguists, classified them with the Siouan-speaking people. Further investigations by Horatio Halley, Gatschet, James Mooney, and James Owen Dorsey proved that several tribes in the same region were also Source-Scott. In the late 19th century, the ethnographer Henry Rose Schoolcraft wrote that the C.A.B. had lived in Canada until driven out by the Iroquois, supposedly with French help. What do you mean supposedly with French help? That's the only way they could have driven them out. Anyway. And that they had migrated to Kentucky, Potatoe County, Virginia. He asserted that by 1660 that they had migrated south to Catawba River, contesting with the Cherokee in the area. But 20th century anthropologist James Mooney lately dismissed most elements of Schoolcraft's record as absurd. The invention and surmise of that would be historian who records the tradition. He pointed out that aside from the French never having been known to help the Iroquois, the C.A.B. had been recorded by 57 in the same area of the Catawba River as their slave-bearing territory. Mooney accepted the tradition that the C.A.B. and Cherokee had made the broad river the mutual boundary following the protracted struggle. The C.A.B. were long in a state of conflict with several northern tribes, particularly the Iroquois, Seneca, and the Algonquin-speaking Lenape. The C.A.B. chased Lenape raiding parties back to the north in the 1720s and 1730s, going across the Potomac River, and at one point, a party of C.A.B. was said to have followed a party of Lenape who attacked them and to have overtaken them near Leesburg, Virginia. There they fought a pitched battle. Similar encounters in these long-standing conflicts were reported to have occurred at present-day Franklin, West Virginia in 1725, Hanging Rocks in the mouth of the Potomac South Branch in West Virginia, and near the mouth of Antietam Creek and Conococheague Creek in Maryland. Mooney asserted that the name of Catawba Creek in Potito these battles with the Nova tribes, not from the Catawba having lived it. The colonial governments of Virginia and New York held a council at Albany, New York in 1721, attended by delegates from the Six Nations.
Teammates, real quick.
What's up?
The music on your sound is louder than your vocals at the moment.
All right, let me see if I can adjust it real quick. Is that better?
Yeah, that's good. Good. Antonio said it's good.
Okay.
Say gracias. Mira.
Don't do that. All right, so the colonial governments of Virginia and New York held a council in Albany, New York, in 1721, attended by delegates from the Six Nations, Howden, Sewanee, and the Catawba. The colonists asked for peace between the Confederacy and the Catawba. However, the Six Nations reserved the land west of Blue Ridge Mountains for themselves, including the Indian Road, or Great Warriors Path, later called Great Wagon Road, through the Pennsylvania, Virginia, North Carolina, and Georgia backcountry. This heavily traveled path used until 1744 by Seneca went through the Shenandoah Valley to the south. In 1738, a smallpox epidemic broke out in South Carolina. It caused many deaths, not only among the Anglo-Americans, but especially among the Catawba and other tribes, such as Sissipaha. They had no mutual immunity to the disease, which had been epidemic in Europe for centuries. In 1759, a smallpox epidemic killed nearly half the tribe. The Native Americans suffered high fatalities from such infectious Eurasian diseases. In 1744, the Treaty of Lancaster, made at Lancaster, Pennsylvania, renewed the covenant chain between the Iroquois and the colonists. The governments had not been able to prevent settlers going into Iroquois territory, but the government of Virginia offered the tribes payment for their land. The peace was probably final for the Iroquois, who had established the Ohio Valley as a preferred hunting ground by right of conquest. The more western tribes continued warfare against the Catawba, who were so reduced that they could raise little resistance. In 1762, a small party of Algonquin Shawnee killed the noted Catawba chief King Hagler near his own village. In 1763, South Carolina confirmed a reservation for the Catawba of 225 square miles on both sides of the Catawba River, with the present York and Lancaster counties.
Teammates, they say the music's still too loud. They have a hard time hearing you.
Alright. Sorry about that, y'all. Did that help some?
You probably have to turn it down from the station page.
I did.
Yeah, it's still coming in at the same volume.
Alright. How about now? Is it any better? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, chat. Let us know if the music.
Let me know if my vocals are any louder and the music is any lower.
Mm-hmm.
I'll go ahead and finish reading and y'all let me know. 1763, South Carolina confirmed a reservation for the Catawba of 225 square miles on both sides of the Catawba River within the present York and Lancaster counties. With British How about now? Yeah, I mean better now.
Antonio said we need the bishop loud and the choir to sit down. We need TMH to sound like he fat and sweating, taking deep breaths.
Really? You said go high on the vocals and talk a little louder. Give me a second. Is that any better? Turn the vocals up.
Any better?
Okay, so that's better. Okay, cool. So let me go back to where I was. Give me a second. All right. So in 1763, South Carolina confirmed a reservation for the Catawba of 225 square miles on both sides of Catawba River within the present York and Lancaster counties. When British troops approached during the American Revolutionary War in 1780, the Catawba withdrew temporarily into Virginia. They returned after the Battle of Guilford Courthouse and settled into two villages on the reservation. These were known as Newton, the principal village, and Turkey Head on opposite sides of Catawba River. Okay, so one of the things I wanted to go back and cover was the paragraph above it, when it talks about Treaty of Lancaster made at Lancaster, Pennsylvania, renewed the covenant chain. So let's refamiliarize ourselves with that Treaty of Lancaster. And I'm gonna put it in the chat so y'all can see it. And then we're gonna look at this covenant chain that they're talking about. Okay. So the Treaty of Lancaster is the Six Nations land cessions, were a series of land cessions by the Iroquois Six Nations and Delaware Indians in the late 17th and 18th century, in which the Indians ceded nearly all of their vast conquered land, as well as ancestral land within the adjacent to the northern British colonies of North America. The land cessions covered most of all of the modern states of New York, Pennsylvania, Western Maryland, Virginia, and West Virginia, Kentucky, northeastern Ohio, and extended marginally into northern Tennessee and North Carolina. The lands were bordered to the west by the Algonquin tribal lands of Ohio country, Cherokee lands to the south, and Creek and other southeastern tribal lands to the southeast. Did y'all hear that?
Mm-hmm.
Dude, That's a large territory for them to be ceding land.
Yep.
So we're talking, it says the cessions covered most of all of the modern states of New York, Pennsylvania. That's two states right there. Western Maryland, Virginia, West Virginia, Kentucky, northeastern Ohio, and then extended marginally into northern Tennessee and North Carolina. Let's see what they got for all this land they ceded. The cessions were accomplished. Say again?
And I'm willing to bet all of it wasn't theirs.
The sessions were accomplished by a series of purchases and treaties between the Indians and Britain, the state or province of New York, or later the United States, between 1682 and 1797, previous to the cessions by the Naphon Treaty of 1701. The Iroquois had gifted to the British their lands to the north and west of Ohio River, part of the lands usurped by conquest in the Beaver Wars of the later 17th century. During early 19th century removals of Indians, most of the Oneida, one of the original 5 nations, migrated to Wisconsin. Other Iroquois migrated to Ontario or Oklahoma Indian Territory. As of the 21st century, the Iroquois are confined to 20 settlements and 8 reservations in New York, Wisconsin, Oklahoma, Ontario, and Quebec. Dude, that's a lot of land. That's a lot of land.
This is my thing. How many tribes got wiped out for them to claim all this as theirs? Because the one thing I be noticing when we be doing this, a lot of these tribes are in the same areas.
Yeah, because they said it bordered Cherokee and Creek tribal land. So, were they selling off some of their lands as well in the Creek and the Cherokee? We're not aware of it? I'm not sure.
I mean, we read it. Joseph Brant was doing it. The Iroquois did it. I forgot what the Iroquois did that too. Remember they sold off somebody's land and the people didn't know? And when they got out there, the tribes were still living on the land?
Yeah. It says, before the arrival of the Europeans, the ancestral lands of the Iroquois were the territory of what is today Upper New York State. The Delaware was spread out in the Hudson and Delaware River valleys along the northeastern Atlantic seaboard. During the Beaver Wars of the second half of the century, the Iroquois conquered lands extending as far as the Mississippi River in the west and Tennessee River in the south. The Delaware, under pressure from early European coastal settlements, migrated to the Midwest along the Ohio River Valley and eventually settled along the upper Wabash River in Indiana. In 1701, the 6 Sioux nations abruptly changed course and leveraged their newly conquered, or at least claimed, lands to obtain favored treatment and protection from the British at New York. The instrument was called the Naphon Treaty, in which the Indians ceded most of what would become Ohio country and Illinois country along the future state of Michigan and part of Quebec to the British. The effect of the Naphon Treaty was almost nil, since the resident tribes of the ceded territory who were not parties to the treaty were in effect control of the land. And when the Iroquois withdrew and the British made no attempt to colonize the area, on the other hand, it didn't cost anything. The Iroquois gifted the land.
But how can you gift something that wasn't yours?
Let's see what this.
They were going around when they saying that the Indians are taking land by conquest. Who are they conquestors to take land from? Who are they fighting and taking land from? Ain't no foreigner. So they said the Delaware moved all the way to Indiana, but we also know at this time there's other tribes that's living in Indiana.
It says the effect of the Naphon Treaty was almost nil, since the resident tribes of the ceded territory who were not parties to the treaty, which means they had nothing to do with the treaty, were in effect control of the land when the Iroquois withdrew, and the British made no attempt to colonize the area. On the other hand, it didn't cost anything. The Iroquois gifted the land. So it sounds like the Iroquois gifted land to the colonizers who didn't even try to colonize it. They just left it.
And then you hear that there were people living there that had nothing to do with the deal. So how could you? That would have been another war. It makes sense how a lot of these wars was happening. You sell something that don't belong to you. Somebody come to move in, but the original tenant's still there.
Sound like squatting to me.
Yeah. Because it seemed like that a lot of these Indian wars were other tribes running tribes off of land. Then in conquest, you're gifting or selling the land that you took from another tribe. Just think about it. You ain't gonna sell your home. You'll sell somebody else's.
That makes sense. Interesting. So I just put the link to the Naftan tribe, and give me a second. I'll go ahead and start reading it. But I put the link in there, so y'all be able to click on it. Hold on. All right. It says Naftan Treaty. Deed from the Five Nations to the King of their Beaver Hunting Ground, more commonly known as the Naftan Treaty, was an agreement made between the representatives of the Iroquois Confederacy with John Naftan, the acting colonel governor of New York, on behalf of the Crown. The treaty was conducted in Albany, New York on July 19, 1701, and amended by both parties on September 14, 1726. The Five Nations, which became Six Nations after 1720, granted, after mature deliberation, out of a deep sense of the many royal favors extended to us by the present great monarch of England, King William III, the title to a vast area of land covering significant portions of the present-day Midwestern United States and Southern Ontario that they had claimed as a hunting ground as far west as Quadodge, now Chicago, by right of conquest during the later Beaver Wars of 17th century. Hold on for a second. What were the many royal favors extended to the Five Nations who later became the Six Nations? Does anybody know?
Oh, I remember what they was able to have. They was in charge of the fur trade. Trying to remember what else they got. I know they got certain protections, and they had the right to. They were buying. They'd be the first with weapons. Well, first to buy weapons from them. I had to go back and pull it back up. Probably been like 3 weeks ago since I read it.
Yeah, because they're making it sound like they got a lot.
Well, you gotta remember, even with the Iroquois, well, before they started dealing with the British, they were getting favors from the French. Remember, the French had the Iroquois all through the Louisiana area, all the way up to Canada, and they were running off tribes and killing different tribes to control the Beaver. That's what the Beaver Wars was about, them controlling the area for the fur trade.
Okay. So it says, as the vast majority of the beaver hunting grounds described in Naftan Treaty were also claimed by New France or its Algonquin Indian allies, the French did not recognize the treaty. It did not recognize the Iroquois suzerainty to the British Crown in 1713, Treaty of Utrecht, and the English made no real attempt to settle these parts for the time being. The amended agreement 25 years later, the strip of land 60 miles wide adjoining Lake Erie and Ontario, starting at Sandusky Creek, was reserved for continued Six Nations occupation and use with the permission of its owner under the 1701 agreement, the King of Great Britain. The copy of the treaty containing the totem images of more than a dozen Iroquois chiefs is part of the collection of the British National Archives. So there were more than a dozen Iroquois chiefs as part of this collection that signed this treaty. Here's my question. What would they have had to have gotten to give up so much land to the crown? I mean, I understand the fur trade and certain protections, but dude, that's a lot of land. You're talking about basically 4 states. Am I missing something? I don't know. Maybe. Maybe not. I don't know. Let me go back. Interesting to say the very least. So, how about we do this? Because we see that the Iroquois gave up a lot of land to the crown in the early 1700s. So, who is this John Nathan, the acting colonel, colonial governor of New York? So let's see who he is. Time to start digging.
Sorry about that. I had a call come in.
Say what?
No, I had a call come in. I don't know if you asked for me anything. I was off for like 2 minutes, if that.
Yeah, I was just trying to figure out. That's a lot of land to be seeding up for a group of people that's only getting protection and fur trade when you had a lot of land in the first place.
Yeah, that's why I don't think it's theirs. Because you know, like how they were paying, how the Potawatoms, no, what was it? The Pequot 100 down. Could it been that these tribes, because you remember when we did the Joseph Brant story, that a lot of his tribesmen started turning on him. Why? Because they was like, you promised us if the Indian fought for the crown that we'll get this, and be protected. But it didn't happen that way. So could it been that's what they were doing?
Right.
Because the one thing I'm noticing about the Iroquois and a lot of other ones, depending on what point in time, they had deals with different nations.
Yeah. Grand Rising Free. Glad you could make it.
Grand Rising.
Yeah, we already got our hard hats on. We're digging into these treaties where the Iroquois seem to give up about 4 states. New York, parts of Maryland, Virginia, was it West Virginia, and parts of Tennessee?
Mm-hmm.
So, let me turn up this mic.
Because by going that way, they'll make it seem like only the Iroquois and a couple of other tribes had land. When they're trying to tell you, okay, the Iroquois had all up there in New York, but we know that the Shinnecock is up there too. So you get what I'm saying? It's like, there's something wrong. There's some holes still in these stories.
Right. Bree says get closer to the mic so she can hear you.
Oh, if I got any closer, I'll probably be in it.
Uh-oh. Well, I turned your volume up some, so hopefully that's better.
That's better, Free?
Gotta start calling you Mike.
Well, you gotta realize, because we're broadcasting from 2 different areas, and I'm in an area where the Wi-Fi is not as strong as it normally would be. So yeah, we're not running like we not running like we normally run. So please forgive us.
Yep. remote recording from or remote streaming from Louisiana this rising.
Exactly. Marlon says he can't hear you at all, Bone. Um,
Mic check, mic check. 1 2 1 2.
hold on. Try it now.
Yeah, what's coming through clean? I heard it. I waited
Okay.
for the playback. Yeah, like I said, in my area today, it's a minute and a half delay.
All right, so we're gonna check out this John Naffin, since this treaty was named, named after him. Says he from 1634 through 1716 was a lieutenant governor of the province of New York. From 1698 to 1702, he served as acting governor for about a year between the death of Earl of Bellamont and the arrival of Bellamont's successor, Lord Cornbury. During the Glorious Revolution in 1688, he served as a captain in William Orange's invasion army with Bellamont, who was his uncle by marriage. Naffin was born in Burtsmorton, Worcestershire, joined the British Army, rising to rank of captain. While Naffin was acting as governor of New York in 1701, he made a peace treaty with the Iroquois. According to the text, the five nations formally deeded what they considered to be their western lands, extending from present-day western New York to Chicago, Illinois, to King William of England. The five nations had conquered much of this area in the 1670s with firearms during later Beaver Wars, although, in fact, by 1701, had already lost effectively control of most of it again to the Algonquin tribes, assisted by the French, who then had the strongest actual military presence in the region. You're right, Bone. So they basically had sold land that they had lost to the French. And it says, let's see. It says, despite this, Iroquois sales of all the lands they had recently lost, the English made no practical attempt to settle them, although the treaty was later used in conflicts with the French to assert British sovereignty in them. Naffin married a woman from Barbados upon the arrival of Lord Cornbury in 1702. Naffin's political enemies had him arrested for alleged malfeasance in office. He was ordered released by the king after a year and a half in prison, after he managed to again evade arrest and make his way to England by 1705 and died in Greenwich in 1716. So basically, the Iroquois were selling land that they had won and then lost to the Algonquins in the war with the French. But Britain didn't even bother to settle the land. They just used it as a means to fight French later on, or use it as a form of sovereignty, because it was land that they had bought. They just never did anything with. So they basically bought it, held onto the deed, and used it in a later at a later time, I guess for land manipulation or to affect some sort of war.
I mean, leverage. Let's treat it like it is. It's business. You buy something that you don't need now that potentially down the line it could be valued. A la stock market.
You're right.
It's about positioning for resources, right? Now the land that they sitting on, it could be important for transporting back and forth. Because we know that the British was good at sitting on routes and sitting on areas, just collecting taxes off of it. That was their motto. If they got a percentage off of everything that was moving, they were cool.
That's a fact. It's just interesting to see how some of this land just got ceded. And we're thinking that a lot of it was taken by colonizers when it was actually taken by Indians from Indians.
And either gifted or sold to the colonizers for certain things or privileges. It's crazy.
Which goes to show you we have to do better. We have to get back on code.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Because it's like we haven't even hit the 1800s yet. And all this is going on.
Yeah, just remember what we seen. We started in the 1500s. Look at all the deals we seen made in the 15 and 1600s.
Okay, so what I want to do now is I want to talk about the lands that were acquired under the covenant chain, because that's an interesting title.
All right.
For land acquisition. So I'm putting this in the chat. So the link I just posted talks about the land that was ceded under the covenant chain. And it says the covenant chain was a series of alliances and treaties developed during the 17th century, primarily between the Iroquois Confederacy, the Haudenosaunee, and the British colonies of North America, with other Native American tribes added. First developed in the New York area at a time of violence and social instability for the colonies and Native Americans. The English and Iroquois councils and subsequent treaties were based on supporting peace and stability to preserve trade. They addressed issues of colonial settlement and tried to suppress violence between the colonists and Indian tribes, as well as among the tribes from New England to the colony of Virginia.
And what were they trying to preserve again?
They were
That's
trying
trade,
to,
right?
Yeah,
And trade is business, right?
yeah.
So basically, our ancestors were doing business with these colonizers.
Looks that way. This looks like they were always doing business.
Business. Jockeying for position. This tribe was like, oh, no, you know what? We getting this from them. But, hey, we can remove all this out, and we can be the controllers of this. Because that's what it looked like. Particular tribes are getting together, making deals with particular colonizers for leverage, for better position, or better favoring in the deal. Because if you go to a table and you don't bring nothing to the table, that's not a negotiation, is it?
Nope.
You gotta bring something to the table to be able to negotiate. And you're not gonna sell land that you're producing your food on and that your family is living on. But now if you running through in big bands, killing off chiefs, running people away, running them out west or running them south or making them join your confederation, then you're turning around and selling that land. Isn't it a lot easier to make a POW, a quote-unquote slave?
That's true. That's real true. So
we also got to ask, where did these slaves, how did they gather all these Indian slaves like this? Simple, running into villages and areas on conquest. You know you're not going to let a lot of the men and people stay because that's a future war once them children get older. You know what I'm saying? The children come back and take their father's place and pick up the fight. So what do? You sell them off as slaves to the colonizers because you're going to make sure you don't have no potential problems. The colonizers will go for it because that's guaranteed and they won't have no potential problems. And the default was, it made the Indians so thin that in the end, the colonizers just whacked everybody in the head.
Yeah, that don't mean I gotta like it.
I'm with you. Like I tell you, I don't. I don't. Every time we go through these stories, I get that sour taste in my mouth. But the only way to correct it is to do what others before us haven't. Accept it and work on the solution to fixing it to move forward. But
Yeah.
I'm still like, man, I'm still, man, not like this.
Yeah, Free says this isn't as difficult as history tries to make it seem. No, um, it's less convoluted when you go and read the stories. And also, as we always say, this is just one side of the story. There's two other sides. There's the sides from the actual tribes to tell their story, and then there's being able to compare the two sides and being able to gain the truth from it, which is the more important reason why knowing your tribe is important, so you can get the side of your tribe story to be able to confirm or debunk what history has stated. So when it comes to the history of the covenant chain, it says it is embodied in the two-row wampum of the Iroquois. It was based in agreements negotiated between Dutch settlers in New Netherlands, present-day New York, and the five nations of the Iroquois, the Haudenosaunee. Early in the 17th century, their emphasis was on trade with the Native Americans. As a historian, Bernard Bailyn has noted, all the colonies, Dutch and English, were first established to create profits. Did you just say that? I'm going to read that part again. As a historian, Bernard Bailyn has noted, all the colonies, Dutch and English, were established to create profits. Through the Beaver Wars in the 17th century, the Iroquois conquered other tribes and territories for new hunting grounds and to take captives to add to their populations depleted from warfare and new European infectious diseases. The tribes in New England suffered even more depletion. The Iroquois expanded their influence, conquering or displacing other tribes from maritime Canada, west of the Mississippi Valley, and from the Canadian Shield south to the Ohio Valley.
I bet there's a whole lot of people living in them areas too.
Yeah, there is.
Because we got to be careful not to believe that when we read these stories, to romanticize it so much that we know there's thousands and thousands of tribes here. So we already know there's no way one tribe has all this land. You get what I'm saying? This is where we have to take the emotion off of it.
Yeah, especially if you know a tribe's migration pattern and know when they're not going to be there, so you can just go ahead and sell it from up under them, because that's possible as well.
Yeah. Ain't no automobile bills and stuff like that. Remember, it took 6 months to go to the West Coast. So if it took 6 months to get there, that means it took 6 months to get back, correct?
Right, and that's under perfect conditions.
Mm-hmm. And you can't foresee certain things, so we saying at least if you was going that way, at least at the less is a year. You know how much stuff can be sold and relocated in a year?
A lot. So it then goes on to read that when the English took over New Netherlands, which is basically present-day New York, in 1664 and established the province of New York, they renewed these agreements. Conflicts erupted in New England in King Philip's War in 1675, the most destructive war in 17th century North America, in which more than 600 colonists and 3,000 Indians died, nearly at the same time as Bacon's Rebellion in Virginia. Both resulted in widespread suffering and loss among Native Americans and colonists. Because of the standing relationship with the Iroquois and the extensive influence of the Haudenosaunee, in August 1675, New York's governor, Sir Edmund Andros asked him to help in ending regional conflicts at the time in New England and the Chesapeake. He worked with the An- Onondaga leader Daniel Caraconite, Caraconte. Daniel Caraconte. So Daniel Caraconte was a Onondaga leader. Shall we find out who this leader is?
By Joy, why not?
I'd like to know.
Daniel Caraconte. Why that reminds me of karaoke? Anyway, I'm putting the link in the chat.
Hello, karaoke. Here we go again.
Okay, it says search for Daniel Caraconte. Not giving me anything right now. It says Daniel Caraconte does not exist. I could ask for it to be created. He worked with Onondaga leader Daniel Caraconte. Yeah, it's not giving us anything on him. I have to hold on.
Very interesting. Very interesting.
Nope, this is a racehorse named Cavalcanti.
Yeah, that's all I'm coming back with. Yeah.
That's interesting.
You know, that this person was a chief.
And we can't find anything about him.
Yeah, I'm deep digging for him and still can't find nothing. Hold on.
I did find something on the first instance where it talks about the two-row wampum treaty that was entered between the Dutch and the Iroquois. Let me go ahead and put this link in the back chat. Maybe somebody will be able to find some information on Daniel, whatever that last name is. So it basically talks about the covenant chain again. It says the covenant chains are basically treaties between colonial powers. Colonial states or the federal government and native tribes came and went as whims and circumstances dictated. The most enduring set of treaties, though, were those referred to as the Great Covenant Chain, binding first the Dutch and later the British to trade and mutual agreements with the Iroquois, Haudenosaunee, and then later extending to other tribes and governmental entities. History often teaches that many colonists came to this colony seeking freedom of some kind. While that may be true for individuals, the companies and governments that backed these colonies were looking for something else: profit. One of the more lucrative terms of trade in the 17th century was beaver. People in Europe and America valued beaver pelts for their beauty, durability, and water resistance, which was useful for hats. They also realized that it was also better to let the natives who knew how to hunt and trap beaver, do the work, do the work, do the working in while trading for items they found useful. Natives were more willing to allow some settlement on their land if they were realizing something from the arrangement and the trade goods were their benefit. This was particularly true of guns and lead to make aluminum ammunition, which allowed them to for greater efficiency in hunting. It says the first in the series of treaties that became known as the Covenant Chain was the Two-Row Wampum Treaty, entered into the 1630 between the Dutch and the most powerful of the Iroquois tribes, the Mohawks. This treaty gave the Dutch exclusive rights to the beaver trade and made the Mohawk and other Iroquois tribes their main suppliers. This strained relations with other tribes in the area, leading to the Beaver War. During these wars, the Iroquois gained advantage over other tribes who had been decimated by warfare and disease, eventually controlling an area from maritime Canada to the Mississippi Valley to the Canadian Shield and Ohio Valley. As Dutch influence of North American waned, the British stepped in to the vacuum, becoming the new trade partner and supplier of the natives. They renewed the two-row wampum terms in 1664. During King Philip's War in New England in 1675 and smaller rebellion in Virginia, which we'll get into future polls, the Iroquois and primarily the Mohawks allied with the British against uprising tribes. The royal governor at the time worked closely with the Onondaga leader Daniel Cavalcanti to forge a closer alliance between the Iroquois and the British. Meanwhile, leaders in Massachusetts and Connecticut, grateful to the Mohawks for their help in putting down King Philip's rebellion, entered into a treaty which also addressed relations between the Iroquois and neighboring tribes, as well as relations between the British and then Five Nations. The treaty was another one of the early treaties which contained standard, what's this, phraseology, such as long as the sun shines on the earth, as long as the water flows, and as long as the green grass grows, etc. That became more boilerplate in native treaties. A further treaty in 1670 bound the Five Nations and the Lenape on one side in a trade, settlement, and peace accord with the people of Virginia and Maryland. Council meetings between all sides were frequently held in Albany, New York, and during one such council in 1684, the governor of New York used the phrase covenant chain to describe the agreement. A Seneca speaker carried the thought, stating, "Let the chain be kept clean and bright as silver, so that a great tree cannot break it to pieces if it falls onto it." Later, a silver chain on three large links representing peace, respect, and friendship was made and represented the tribal leaders. It says the Covenant Chain Treaties continued in force until 1753, when Iroquois leaders, fed up with encroaching settlement on the land, confronted colonial officials in Albany. They indicated that the covenant chain was broken and had very concrete demands to mend it. Not only were the British to take a hand in removing squatters off native land, but they were to appoint a man the natives trusted, Sir William Joseph, to represent their interests. The British responded by removing the power of the individual colonies to negotiate Indian affairs and by appointing Johnson as the first superintendent of the new British Indian Department. Johnson worked to reform the chain in a series of treaties, particularly that of Fort Stanwix in 1768. The United States became heir to the covenant chain relationship in 1794 with the Treaty of Canadiaga, which guaranteed the rights of the Iroquois to the land they then possessed in New York and the free access to their relatives in Canada.
1794.
Sounds like a series of business deals and transactions to me.
If you, man, the beginning of it, I mean, they laid it plain out for you what it was about.
Corporations of people, my friend.
They telling you businesses and governments. Why would they say businesses and governments were making deals? And we see what the Iroquois did, which we got to remember that ain't nothing but a couple of tribes combined together in a business deal.
Right.
So you have basically three entities right now. And now it explains when we read other stories like with Joseph Brand. Because remember in his story, he working with all sides. Like he said, it seemed like everybody was just doing it. Not making no excuse for it, but you can see,
So Free brought up something that was very interesting. She said she's passing a new subdivision in Indiana, and this is a thought. She says, one of the biggest elephants in the room are these treaties. Whether valid or unenforced, we have to take our seat at the table to fix it. She said it's like everyone knows knows there's real tension in the air, but no one really looks at why that is. I mean, you're right, these treaties need to be addressed.
Because therein lies the problem. They're bad business negotiations. I mean, really, it's just like if you signed the contract. Somebody signed a bad contract.
Sounds like a bunch of bad 360 deals in the music business.
Yeah, and how do you fix a bad contract? You can't fix a bad contract by ignoring it, by running away from it, by just going along with it. You gotta get your stuff together, come to the table, and renegotiate these contracts. You might not like it, but that's what it is.
Yeah, recess is about tribal absence, which allows a lack of equity as descendants from the various tribes do their own thing. Yeah, we have to go back and address these treaties, basically.
Exactly. Because there's no way around that. Even if you ran off, like we always say, run off, try to create your own thing. Where you gonna put it? Our ancestors did business deals that are still standing to this day. The reason why we're getting screwed, because we ain't showing up to work.
And the best example of that was
Think
how.
about it.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Now, so the best example of that is how the C.A.B of South Carolina straightened out one of their treaties and was awarded $5 million. They got it addressed, they got it fixed, and I'm sure there's other things that they're working on.
And let's look at it this way. Didn't the tribes that got awarded casinos, didn't they go back in and sit down and renegotiate them treaties, and that's how they own the casinos to this day?
Yep.
Hard Rock didn't start with the Seminoles. Remember, Hard Rock was its own private entity. They got taken to court, and the Seminoles got it through a treaty, which is a contract, meaning a new negotiation. And what happened? Think of it this way. When the Iroquois and all them, not even the Iroquois, who was it? The Choctaw? The Chickasaw was one of them. When they went out west, because they never picked up arms against the U.S., they got the first allotment, so they picked the land out there in Oklahoma.
Right.
That was a business deal, right?
Yeah.
So what did they do once they got to Oklahoma? Didn't they X the ones that were still on the South out the business deal?
Mm-hmm.
Bad contracts. Like me and you go into business together, it get bumpy. You go off out there, look at some new land out there, get out there, sign a contract, and sign me out of it. Basically.
Yep.
And if it takes a year for you to get out there, what could you do?
Yeah, that's messed up.
Think about it. It took 6 months to get out there. So by the time word got to you that you've been excommunicated out the deal, it was more than way too late.
Facts. So it sounds like the thing that we need to do is after we help everybody get their genealogy done and find their tribe. We then need to not only help their tribes, but start looking at the treaties that involve those tribes and start looking at negotiating or renegotiation with these contracts and find out where it went wrong, so we can get them back on. Not only get them back on code, but get them back what was taken or lost or stolen from them. So, but the first thing that we got to do is get people to their tribes so they can make their roll call, so they can take their proper place on their proper land with their proper tribe. Because if not, it's going to be a mess. Get people to their tribes.
And even look at it this way, how are these tribes getting their land? Aren't they going in there with these original treaties and renegotiating with them to get back their land?
I would think so.
Even when the tribe gets their members up high enough to where they can be seen and go get the land, right?
Mm-hmm.
Aren't they taking their original constitution to the U.S. government and letting them know that they're here to claim their part of the deal? That's basically what's going on. It's like I said before, somebody steals your car. You see your car 4 or 5 houses down. Legally, you can't go down there and get that car, even though everybody knows it's yours.
It'd be considered stolen again.
You would need to show up with the proper paperwork, proper identification to possess your property.
And you just made me think of something. It doesn't matter what new paperwork we draw up. It will never, ever supersede the original contract.
It
So
can't.
if you're not addressing the original contract, anything new you draw up doesn't matter. It doesn't matter the documentation, because the original contract that was drawn up between our tribes and the United States government are what's allowing these tribes to either reclaim money or reclaim land. They're not drawing up any new documentation, and there is no proof that any new documentation was drawn up to get the land nor the money. And if there is, please somebody show it to me. Now, I'm not saying it's not. I'm saying I haven't seen it. So instead of drawing up new documentation, it would behoove you to deal with the old contract, because according to tribal law and according to the Constitution, these are government to government contracts. It's like where I live, there's government contract work, and there are contracts already in place. I can't take over a contract unless there's a bid for it. And that bid is based off of an old relationship or an existing relationship. So if that existing relationship is not even mentioned or talked about, there is no new contract. There is no new bid. This is no different. You just can't introduce something new without addressing what's old and think you're going to get something if you weren't even part of the original deal.
We see it all the time in sports, entertainment. We see this play out. I play for the Knicks. All right, I'm under contract. Can I go sign another contract with another team?
Nope.
And the only way that can happen is I have to sit down. Me and my agent. Me and my agent will have to sit down with the original contract holders and renegotiate something, right?
Yep.
Because no matter what, even if I quit and then play in the league and came back 3 years later, when that team still owned me because that original contract, seen it play out, we can go back to the Ricky Williams incident, Gilbert Arenas incident. That's just to put it like in a little bit more everyday term. We see it. We do it in our own lives. That's like saying you buying a car, making payments on it, but you're gonna write up a new contract and sell it to somebody else. You can do it, but what's gonna happen?
I'm gonna give you another example. Say that my great grandfather sold your great grandfather a house, right? And your grandfather passes it down to your father, and your father passes it down to you, right? So who does the house belong to?
Who does it belong to?
Yeah, who does it belong to?
It would belong to me now if it's passed down. But the
Right.
original contract was,
Right. So the only way that I can even entertain getting that house back is if I do what? Address the original contract and find out if everything was legal. I cannot come to your door with a new document and say, my great grandfather sold your great grandfather this property, so you gotta go.
We all on YouTube. Sample somebody else's material and don't get clearance from the original content holder and watch what happens. Come on, man. It's not rocket science. Making this harder than what it really is. There's an original contract out there.
She says birth rate matters. She said birth rates matter. Always have and always will.
It does.
Their own president has put them on blast for who looks like a real Indian and who doesn't, as they continue to make these business deals under the guise of being Indian. Time to represent.
And why would a businessman like Trump be mad? Because he know they're not the real holders of this. He know, okay, if the real holders of this knew who they were, I stand a better chance because mine with them at particular times on contracts. Then yesterday we talked about the Fair Housing Act. We talked about how Trump got his money and stuff from that.
Yep.
So now let's think for a second. If he knows about the money allotments and programs and stuff that's for our people, if he knows about this, he's a businessman who likes negotiating. Pissed because when he wanted to get into the Indian thing, they wouldn't let him in. But he also knows, how you gonna tell me no when y'all not even the original owners? You don't look like Indians to me. What do you think that really meant? How you speaking for something that's not even yours?
But if it's yours, you got to be able to prove that it's yours.
That's it.
And the way to prove that it's yours is that there's a roll call with your name on it. If your name is on land in Tennessee, but it is not on land in North Carolina, how you gonna be claiming land in North Carolina?
Let me shock everybody for a minute. They talk crazy about Kanye, right? But Kanye came out and told you that the so-called African American is the real American Indian. And Kanye stays up in there, going back and forth talking with Trump, right? So if Kanye know who he is, Trump know who he is, now look at the deals that they brokered. They just didn't go there just to go talk, y'all. You need to start waking up and really paying attention.
Free says on a broader spectrum, we're the only ones who have no representation in the UN. It's time to answer the call.
And it's so sad, even under the title as African American, you still don't have no representation in the UN. Why that is?
Because we are still separated as a tribe and as a nation. You have the tribes that are maintaining and holding on, waiting for their people to come home. Because they can't do anything until we go home. And instead of us going home, we're trying to create our own home.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of going home to our ancestors, we're trying to create our own tribe. We're trying to strike up new deals, trying to usurp contracts and agreements that are already in existence. And then you wonder why none of these tribes will reach out to you. Well, first of all, you're disrespecting their chiefs by calling yourself a chief. That's number one.
There's no way around that.
Because I promise you, there is no European calling themselves a prince or a queen or a king. They don't even call themselves knight. They wait to be knighted. They don't disrespect their ancestors like we disrespect ours. You name me one European that's calling themselves prince this, king that, queen this, or knight that. I'll wait.
Oh wait. Same here. Like we keep saying that you honor the ancestors and forgetting your feelings when it's being informed a lot of our actions are disrespectful to the ancestors. But most of them wouldn't know because they ain't making no attempt to even tie in to try to go sit back down and talk to your tribal members.
Everybody's scared to go home. Why? You scared of that whipping you gonna get when you go home for the disrespect to your people?
That would sound like to me.
Because it's easy to talk a good game when you ain't at home. But when you got to go back home to mama and daddy, that's a whole nother story.
You scared? You say you scared.
So, I'm just saying. I dare anybody that's got the title of a chief to go talk to a real chief and say and please record it because you can do it. Go to a chief, a real chief, call yourself a chief and tell them that you are coming on behalf of yourself being a chief and you don't have any constitution, you don't have no bylaws, and you just basically disrespecting them and you're going to call yourself a chief because you feel that you earned that title. I would love to see that recorded played out. Please do that.
You bad. Let's go. Let's go. Other than that, cease the chit chat. Let's get this work going.
Michael Robinson said Donald Trump got 80 of us out of jail and prison, and he says, and at where I'm working at, sign papers that the employees can get a $20,000 free car down payment. What the world? Am I reading that right, Michael? They can get a $20,000 down payment for a car.
There's a lot of things that's going on, but people too busy yapping at the gums instead of reading policies, instead of reading what business deals have been renegotiated. Didn't him and Kim walk up in there and get some people released? Then they get their home. Come on, man. Y'all too busy being entertained. That's what the problem is.
It's easy to talk. Anybody can talk.
And while people sitting here looking crazy, check this out. Wasn't there certain Indians making negotiations with colonizers only for them and their people?
Yep.
There's no disrespect to none of our people that went to go see Trump. Now let's put it this way. Steve Harvey went in there, people laughed and clowned. But how do you know he didn't go in there negotiating for his tribe and his people?
You don't, because no one asked. No one asked. They just made assumptions.
Look at the melanated people that went in there to see this man. This man Ben said years ago he knew who the real Indians was. He knows because you got to remember he built his empire off of dealing with real Indians through HUD.
Michael says, yep, and he got blacks working more in Los Angeles and looking like Hispanics losing jobs here. Uh-oh.
Yeah, think about what Trump wants to do. Nobody's really paying attention. So you have to realize, you have a set of Europeans that would rather do business with who? With who? Directly with us. The problem is you have too many middlemen. Too many other people that broke off, had children with this, had children with this. These couple of members out of this tribe made a deal. You know what I'm saying? Came up and made a whole nother name to make another deal. Too many middlemen. So now if you start building up walls and locking people out, what are you doing?
Cutting out the
Eliminating all
middleman.
these middlemen. Come on, it's always been business. This has been business since they came on shores. If it hasn't been business, why do you think they keep you working for your finances? Business.
And the funny thing about it is the only reason Donald Trump is doing this, the only reason he's doing this is because had they let him have his way, there wouldn't have been any problem.
Go back to the lawsuit. Go back to the challenges of him trying to get into the casino business. Even go back to the challenge when he wanted to start his own football league. Come on, man. There's a reason certain people who don't look like you align themselves with you.
But you know what? They scared. They'll never do it because they scared. They scared to go home. They scared to deal with anybody that don't believe in their ideology. They scared to face real people. They scared to face real problems. They scared to face real situations. It's easy to go up here on YouTube and bang on your chest and talk about what you may do, what you may not do, what's secret, what's sacred. Ain't nobody gonna. It's work. People scared of real people. They scared of real Indians. And I'm not talking about me. I'm talking about real tribes. Like I said, if you got chief on your name, I dare you to go onto a reservation and talk to a chief. You can. All you gotta do is schedule an appointment, and please record it. If you bad, if you chicken, don't. What up, David Corey? How you doing, bro?
Honors to you, David Corey. Glad to see you. Like we say, people get mad when we be saying it. But if you actually do the study and you really research, you'll find out that it's always been business. And all we have to do is step back into our proper place so we can be the rightful owners of the other side of the contract. That's in fact, Michael Robinson. See, those of us who are not afraid to talk to the Caucasians and the Europeans, we know this already. Because we're around them, we talk to them. But the others that's up here banging on their chest, oh, pale this, pale that, they don't go nowhere, they don't talk to nobody. You're afraid. It has always been business. And don't twist it. It does not mean that anybody's innocent from the wrongs that went down. That is not what we're saying. But instead of sitting here going over what we all know, injustice, 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 rah, 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 rah. No. Let's get to the root of the problem and come up with a solution. We done got to the root of the problem. The solution is tie back in. Get back with these tribes. Let's stand up. Get these contracts, then we can go back in and renegotiate them.
And
you ain't answering that call.
And at the end of the day, again, we don't claim to know everything. So if there's something we're missing, please show us. I have no problem with letting people know that I'm wrong and apologize. Because if introducing a document is going to supersede an existing contract, if that happens, and you got proof of that, please show me. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I just haven't seen it.
I need my money back in school if that works.
Hey, bro. You know, and you know, there's always an outlier. There's always a situation to where there's an exception. All you need is one situation to be right. All you need is one situation to be right. That's it. You ain't gotta have a whole bunch of proof. Just all you have to do is be right one time to be right. And at the end of the day, if I'm wrong, I'm wrong. But at least show me some proof. I don't need talk. I need proof. And this, I don't have to show you proof and all that good stuff. That stuff only works on TV. That don't work in real life. Because you won't get anywhere talking about something. I don't have to show you proof.
Or the service took. Check this out. For those of them that believe this, your internet service that you got, can you get that without showing who you are? That phone that you have, how you got that? Huh? If you're on the automobile, how you got that? Huh? Oh, hold on. The utilities. Huh? Oh, we're gonna pull like the 90s, everything in my mama name. Stop playing.
I'm gonna put my air in my mama name. Your air in your mama name though? What your mama gonna breathe?
So that means your mama had to show proof. But wait a minute. But wait, whoa, back up. You'll put something in somebody else's name, but you won't go back home to claim was yours. Okay. Okay. Makes sense to me. Not. People scared to go home, man. That's what it is. They're just scared to go home. They would rather be independent than go home because they know what's coming for them when they go home. They have to abide by rules and regulations when they go home. You know, when you live with your parents, they got rules and regulations that you got to adhere to. You can't just make up stuff. Yeah. You just can't be your own. You can't be your own king or queen. You can't make up your own rules. So I'm gonna create this new land and rule it. Man, go on somewhere and sit down and have several seats.
You sit down, just take that long walk up that short foot, please. I said it.
It sounds stupid to me too, Michael, but there are a lot of people that are promoting that and pushing it. Instead of going home where there's strength, where there's a foundation, and where your name is on the land, they'd rather try to take somebody else's land and do what the colonizers do while talking about the colonizers simultaneously. That don't make sense to me, but hey, what do I know?
What's good, David Corey? Mic check. 1, 2, 1, 2.
Can you not hear us?
I mean, there comes a point in time where you got to put the emotions aside. And you just got to handle business. And stop running from it. Because the more you run from it, the worse it becomes. I'm like, wow.
Yeah, David, we're not as loud as we normally are because we're broadcasting from a different area. I'm in New Orleans right now, so my internet is not as robust as it normally is. So forgive me for that. So we're working on it. Hopefully we'll have it better tomorrow. Yeah.
1, 2, 1, 2. Yeah, but when you think of it that way, that's all we're saying. That if you're looking to fix what's really wrong with our situation, you got to be willing to go home. You got to be willing to honor the contracts of our forefathers. See, my brother nonetheless used to say this all the time, and he used to tip me when he said it. You putting yourself in dishonor because your forefathers got a contract that we walked away from the table. Regardless of what the situation was, somebody running, yeah, some people got ran away, but not everybody. Some people seen the bright lights and the flash and went forward. Come on, we see it amongst our community now. Most of us get to what we consider successful, and And instead of reaching back, we want to brag that we got this and show that. Look, we live in a show-me culture. I got the hottest shoes, the newest car, the hottest jewelry. I mean, ain't nobody beat you into that. That's a choice. So we must do the honorable thing. Go back home, pick up, learn these ways, learn our laws, so we can go back in here and renegotiate.
Michael says, I'm starting to think it's because these people probably didn't like what they seen or don't like what the land they have or where it's at.
I can even make it one more simple, and I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Lazy. Our people have this condition to where we want stuff to fall in our laps. Let's make no mistake about it. That's the majority problem right there. Wanted the easy way. This so-called European life, and I'm gonna say it again, European life that the majority are living, they got too comfortable with it. They enjoy it. You go out, bust a 9 to 5 just to maintain that. Don't want to lose any of that and got too comfortable in this colonized life with our colonized minds. That we don't want to let it go. So who's the real oppressor? Not taking no responsibility from no parties that did damages, but who's your real oppressor? Remember, can't nobody oppress another person. You oppress yourself. You lower yourself to somebody else's dominion. Can't nobody make you do that. That's a choice. Why you think it was written death is better than oppression? Because I'd rather die before I bow before another person. Think for a second, my relatives. The ink been dry. Before we was even thought of, this ink was dry.
Michael said, here's another thought. They say maybe they did find out they're African or got some in them and don't want to claim it. Here's the thing. Even if that's the case, how much African are they going to have that's going to prevent them from being Indian?
Yeah, really. How many Africans they sent over here? They still don't know. That number revolving.
There are some instances where people have found African in one of their family trees or one of their families, and that still doesn't negate them being Indian. Think about this: if you are a part of the Bush family and you still have ties to Indian land, why wouldn't somebody that's part African? Doesn't make any sense to me.
Yeah, can never override it. If the Europeans who came here that got in through interbreeding and marriage are locked in still, why wouldn't you? I mean, that's just, I'm not even gonna touch that.
Exactly.
Yeah, who told you the math don't work like that? I don't know. This seems like a lot of people don't think the math works.
And you know what makes it worse, no sellout? Haven't even tried it. That's the worst part about it.
Yeah, on that, somebody told me, or I heard, or I believe, I feel.
It's always like, people gotta realize, it's not that hard. It's not that hard. We're making it hard. Because people want to do, let's be honest, people want to do their family history, their genealogy. They want to see that they got land and money and just claim it and it fall in their lap. That's what the majority of people are doing this for, and it's sad. The majority of people are doing this with the hopes of they can find money and all this and that that'll fall instantly in their laps. And because it doesn't work that way, and in their philosophy, it's better to start a new thing. Or they tell you that's the government system. Or they tell you that's that. It's your ancestors' system. If you study the history, who were they doing deals with?
We've been in some form of commerce or trade since the beginning. So the sad part is that, again, like I always say, I haven't seen any proof where going outside of the trees and the Constitution works. If you can show me some proof, then I'll start banging on it. I mean, it's not that hard. It shouldn't be that hard. I can show you. We got hundreds of videos where people who've gone and doing their own thing have been arrested and got anywhere from 5 years to 44 years. You can't show me any proof where it's actually worked. There's got to be some proof, right? Or you wouldn't be trying to do it. Or is your excuse, well, I don't have to show you proof? See, I can show you proof that it don't work, but you can't show me proof that it does work? Man, go sit down somewhere.
And we can show you proof from what we're talking about works. Can you show us otherwise?
Man, just go pick any nonprofit constitutional bylaw. Pick up any federally or state recognized tribes constitutional bylaw. Pick up any businesses that have a constitution and bylaws that are making a profit. Pick any one up. Pick any one.
Eeny, meeny, miny, mo.
Just one. So I can give you lots of proof that what we're doing works and can work. And you can't give me proof of one that yours works? That's
one?
That's weak.
What
really
about
weak.
point one? How about point one? And like Michael Robinson said, I see more so-called Indians want to claim this ADOs for money and don't want to fight for the ancestors. Yeah, you do have a lot of so-called Indians mad at the ADO saying because they want the money. They feel like the money should be coming to them. Man, forget the money. When there's contracts that put you back in control of producing the money. So still fighting and scratching over peanuts.
Peace, Doodle Vision.
Instead of doing the real work.
Again, this is not the channel for ego stroking or making you feel good. This is where you're going to get the real information. This is where you're going to get real proof. This is where you're not going to get conjecture. We're going to show you that works. We're going to show you what has been working and what will continue to work. And again, I'll wait for anybody that wants to debunk it. Please. Again, let's start with the NFL. Go get that 292-page bylaws and constitution, and tell me they not sovereign.
Hey, y'all like reading? Come on, we scholarly. That's only 294 pages. 294 pages.
I'll even give you a hint. The first 60 of it talks about the commissioner and his responsibilities. By the time you get to page 70, you'll start to see their amendments because every year they have their owners meeting. You can see exactly what their plans are and what they're doing. And that's a nonprofit. That's going to be worth $27 billion by 2027. I mean, $35 billion by 2027. But, you know, it don't work. It don't work. A2 is a nonprofit. It doesn't work. It don't work. It doesn't work. You're right, it don't work.
Man, I quit. It don't work. Wait a minute, man. You just said it don't work.
I mean, I sit on boards of multiple nonprofit entities that's generating billions of dollars in profit and helping large communities, but they don't work either. They don't work. I'm sorry. I'm wrong. I'm wrong.
Yeah. We don't know what we're doing. We just do this. We do this in our real lives and decided to build something to do this for our people. But we don't know. We don't know nothing. Uh-uh. Crazy.
I'm just waiting for that first video of a self-proclaimed chief going onto a reservation to speak to another chief who's a real chief and explain to them why they call themselves chiefs. I'm waiting for that.
It's gonna be a long time coming.
Free says, I'm done with all the commiserating. It's time to stand up. Dust yourself off and get this right. The next 7 generations are more than worth the effort. Well, I think so.
I know that.
Some people might not, but I think it's worth it.
They too busy worried about self. They too worried about getting the bag right now. But what you really want the bag for? For you to have a big house? For you to have a flashy cars? For you to be seen in the spotlight? Huh?
David Corey said no shots, but most chiefs were women. Well, it depends on what tribe you're talking about, David. Now, as we were doing some research on the 5 nations dealing with the Iroquois, especially the Mohawk tribe or of the Iroquois, the women were princesses that chose the chiefs.
Yep.
So the chiefs came through their lineage. So they were more powerful than chiefs. They raised chiefs and they set chiefs down. So I don't know if that helps answer your question. So
members of a tribe are more powerful than the chief.
Right. So in all actuality, a chief is nothing more than a figurehead that represents the body as a tribe. The chief is supposed to do what the tribe suggests. They're just the voice. Because you have wartime chiefs, you have peacetime chiefs, you have chiefs of different aspects of the tribe. So if a person appoints themselves chief, then I don't know. They're violating tribal law.
Let's keep it how it really works down. No different than mayors and city commissioners that get elected in by the people and can be removed by the people at any given time if your production falls below the standards that they set for you.
Facts.
This big Hollywood thing of what a chief is, that's Hollywood. Now you have wartime chiefs who strategize on plans and stuff. But guess what? If there's no war, is there a wartime chief? If there's no confederation, is there a wartime chief?
No.
Because if they would read and know their history, when there's no war, wartime chiefs are disbanded. During the times of peace, there's even no confederacies, they're disbanded. Broken back up, go back onto their own little personal ways of life. But they know history though.
I'm just trying to figure out how you gonna show respect to your ancestors and be disrespectful simultaneously. That don't work.
Really? And that's all we saying. Let's get on code. Let's stop this Hollywood fantasizing. Let's stop acting like we here for the people, but with dreams with the bag for ourselves, with the big house and flashy fancy cars. Come on, man. We done seen that. We done seen that too many times. Most of us spot that movie from the get-go. Walking in the door, we see that movie like, nah. We just gonna cut this script. We're not even gonna let this play out.
Well, I don't expect a lot of people to be on board with being on code anyway. So I'm prepared to do a lot with few people. He says, Michael says, want to be chiefs but can't handle the Indians. No, they can't handle the Indians. They can't.
Bang, 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 bang.
Because at the end of the day, the Indians and the council are the ones that make the decision. The chief is the one that delivers the decision. The chiefs don't make the decision. People don't understand what a real chief is.
You only been watching Cowboy and Indians. What you expect? Never took the time to go out and sit down and speak with some. Or even speak with the Indian Council. They couldn't even tell you what the Indian Council looked like. Unless it's in a book.
And again, like I said, you know, at the end of the day, with all this stuff that's going on with these new documents being introduced, I mean, and some of this stuff being supported by people who actually are on that have tribal cards. All I'm asking you to do is get your chief to sign off on it if it's legit. If it's legit, your chief should have no problem signing off on it. Or your tribal council. I mean, the chief might be busy. He might be doing something. So why not have the tribal council sign off on it? Record them saying, hey, this is a good idea to introduce this document that has absolutely nothing to do with the treaty for what we're doing. I haven't seen that yet. I'm not saying it can't be done. I just don't know of any chief that will sign off on that.
I'm like this. You know me. I'll take it right there. Y'all so bad around here with this, running around as registered Indians, but supporting sovereign movements, supporting self-proclaiming titles. Let your nation know that you registered to, that you're doing that. And let's see how long you hold on to that registration. Come on now. Is that why a lot of them that have it keep it quiet? Because you know doggone well that ain't rocking. And that's one of the biggest problems. That we have brothers and sisters that know better. They're not just learning this, they already know. And to rather help you know, they push the BS.
And even if you don't want to get your chief to do it, find another chief that would be willing to just willing to go on record and say that's a good thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Again, if I'm wrong, I will go on and apologize to everybody I need to apologize to. I will make a phone call. I'll even sign an affidavit with an apology. If I'm wrong.
That's what you need. Live on air.
But I'm here to tell you, I don't know of any chief that's a real chief that's registered either locally or recognized state or has a federal recognition that will sign off on anybody doing anything that remotely hints of sovereignty or introducing documentation that's outside the Constitution or bylaws and things of that nature. I don't know of any tribe. I don't know of any chief that would do that. And if you do, let me know. I would love to talk to him. And like I said, I will issue a formal apology to whoever needs it.
You know what they're gonna call that happen? Get one on tape letting you know exactly how that's gonna end for you.
I know what I'll do. I'll go find a chief and ask. Since nobody else.
That's what I just told myself. Hey,
Yeah, I'll do it. Since you scared, I'll do
we're
it.
gonna do it for you. Ain't you gonna do it for you?
Yeah, since you scared to do it, we'll go do it for you. Since you scared.
A2 is gonna go out here, see what chiefs we can talk to, and ask them this question, and we finna see how this play out.
Then there will be no more questions.
I mean, why we gonna sit here wasting time? 2020 right around the corner. I'm like this, let's put it on the table and let's see what stands. We grown, we don't have time to be playing games. Put it on the table, let's see what stands.
Really? So yeah, that's what we'll do. Y'all don't gotta do it. We understand you scared. You not man or woman enough to do it. We'll do it for you. You know. Since this is where the real work gets done anyway, we'll go ahead and do it. Since you don't have the gumption to do it, you'd rather hide behind icons and stuff. We'll do it for you. We got it. Don't worry about it.
What you gonna do now? What you gonna do now?
I don't know what I was thinking. Had a lapse of judgment, I guess. My bad. I apologize.
I don't.
My bad. I apologize.
No.
Oh, for those who coming in late, I don't mind repeating it. Basically, A2 finna go out, talk to a couple of chiefs, get them on video, recordings, and we're gonna ask them. We finna ask our tribe members, how do they feel about people starting their own tribes and sovereignty and stuff like that? Writing documentation of their own and submitting it, when there's already documentation that predates anything that you can write. Thanks, Michael Robinson. How you gonna say you Blackfoot and Cherokee, but then say I don't believe in those tribes and want to start your own tribe? On what continent? And if you say that around me, that's disrespectful. Because I honor my ancestors, their ways and all, not just when I'm on YouTube, the way I live my life, the way I maneuver in life. The things that we're building to make sure that we outlive us in our life. HU came about to show a way. Now, people want to have voices and get in the way. Now y'all finna see now you finna see what happens when it's fully activated. And if you want to know directly who we talking about, we're talking to anyone that's out here perpetrating this BS, anyone that's out here want to wear false titles, anyone that's going to push a false narrative to stop our people and our tribes from getting what's rightfully theirs. So y'all want to play these games? Let it begin. The difference is we're doing what we're speaking on every day. Waiting on y'all. We're moving forward. People need help now. Debate ain't gonna feed nobody. Never have, never will. And our communities have been taking advantage too long off of these debates. Both sides in bed with each other, splitting the money at the end of the night. I'ma take it, Gail.
That's the YouTube culture.
Badgering for what? Because you want to be known the top dog on the YouTube stream? But then at the same time, you hollering pale face, pale face, pale face. Don't the so-called PLC you call a pale face on YouTube? So you chasing to get crumbs from the pale face that you say that you don't like? Really though. Man, you clowns don't go sit down somewhere.
So Bones, I'm gonna address a question that's in the chat. It's from IC Network. He says, "How long have our peoples been on these landscapes?" I'm gonna put it to you this way. Depending on who you talk to, and depending on what books you read, will answer that question. Now, we can either go by history, we can go by anthropology, we can go by archaeology, or we can go by the tribes. I've already read what the history has had to say. I've already read what the anthropologists and archaeologists got to say. Now I'm going to start talking to the tribes. And those are the ones I'm going to listen to, and then I'm going to put all this together. So I'm going to put the question back on you. Have you talked to any Indians to tell you how long they've been here on these landscapes? Have you checked your roll call to find out how long your people been here on these landscapes? Or are you just listening to it? And this is not an attack on you, so please don't take it that way. But that's a good question that somebody might want to know the answer to that. Or are we just going to pay attention to what's been written in books and what Europeans and archaeologists and anthropologists have been saying? Why ain't nobody asking the tribes? They got records too. So how about we ask the tribes and just stop going off of this written paper by other people, except for the people that have been represented? Because you may claim you're an Indian, but if you ain't talked to your people and you ain't talked to your tribe, how long do you know how long you've been here? Basically, it's conjecture. So let's stop the madness and let's talk to some of these tribes and get the answers. How about that? I really get the mic.
That actually probably is it. But I mean, that sounds like the best answer for it. Why wouldn't you go to the source? If I want some water, I should go to the source to get that water.
But they scared though, so they rather sit back and ask rhetorical questions forever and ever and ever, wasting our people's time.
Contact us at indigenousassembly@gmail.com if you got some questions.
Another answer to that question is this. Look, there's another answer to that question. There are over 1,000 tribes that you can ask that question. Why are you asking me?
You're a historian.
We ever claim to be historians?
Nope.
Historian.
We ever claim to be scholars here?
We put out the information where you can go to reach the tribes, but instead of asking the tribes, you rather ask me. Oh, okay.
You the shortcut.
Do the vision says new rules.
185 years old, and you're asking the same questions to go ask your people.
How old was Joe Louis?
He fought in
135 years old.
But really, all jokes aside, think about it. Instead of you asking tribes, you have to ask somebody else. Ain't that how we got in this mess in the first damn place? Use my language. Come on, man. No more time wasting. No more time wasting. The solutions are here and we're moving forward.
So Bone, let me ask you a question. Is it safe to say that there have been some tribes that have reached out to A2?
Yes, there are.
Okay. Just checking. So they do respond. They do respond, right?
Oh yes, they do.
Oh, okay. Just wondering.
A lot of the vids that we put up is information from them.
Okay. They do respond, right?
Probably why a lot of people got problems with it, because you can't bang against it. It's factual. It's private.
David Corey says, how can I find tribes in Texas? David Corey, reach out to Doodle Vision. He's out there in Texas. He is a great resource. I promise you.
Big old fact right there.
And also, those who need help, understand we can help you, but it means you have to at least start the work. It don't mean contact us and you have no information, you haven't tried anything, you just want somebody to do it for you. No, that's the problem. You have to be willing to dig in yourself. We understand that people will get stuck. We understand that people don't have time, but you at least have to start it for yourself. Okay? Then you can get help. If you ain't started and you ain't doing anything, you ain't asking for help. You're asking for somebody to do it for you.
I see network. I already know the answer to the question as far as how long my tribe's been here.
AutonomousAssembly@gmail.com. Again, that's AutonomousAssembly@gmail.com. But see, I see you network again. That's that BS, and I'm gonna call it out. I'm sorry, I'm not gonna sugarcoat it. You rather sit back here, get on the phone, just call, harass, ask questions, than take your grown behind to do some work and find out who you are. I'm not even gonna play with you this rising. See, my thing is this: stay out of the way of those who doing work. Stay out of the way of those doing work. These questions that you come here and ask, why you don't know about your people? Because you come here to distract. And I'm gonna put you on blast. Enough is enough. Because see, some of y'all was around when me and Chairmates walked through the door. Some of y'all were around where things were trying to get organized to make it better for the American Indian. Let's don't play this game. Let's stop acting like that you don't know what this is. This isn't something new. This has been spoke about when a couple of us met and walked in the door. This is supposed to be the original end game. Why it's not? You know who you are, so let's stop this.
I see network. You have access to the same individuals that I have access to with that information. So why are you asking me? How about I ask you that question? And if you was paying attention to what we was talking about earlier, it already mentioned how long Catawba been there. So what are you really trying to ask? I told you, don't come here asking questions, don't expect to get none asked back. I will answer questions up to a certain point. So you have the same access to the individuals that I have to get that information. It was also mentioned early on the show. This is part 2 of Catawba. So if that's the case, then why are you asking me a question that you already know the answer to?
I ain't you let that work for you and let's see what you can go claim with that. Stop being a child and start being a grown man. See, it's that ideology that gets our people in trouble because you are perpetrating the BS. Instead of doing work, you want to create your own ideology on what it's supposed to be. When you have ancestors that before you that you are in dishonor of. Come on, man. And that's all I ask of. If you're here to really help people, then come here to help. But don't come here with these scratches in the chat.
Look, I'm going to ask the question I ask everybody else. What's your tribe?
Yeah, what is your tribe?
You know who you are, so who's your tribe?
And if you ain't trying to find your tribe and you're trying to stop people from finding their tribe, then to me, you are the colonizer. Make no mistake about it. You look like me, but you not me.
No tribe? Your tribe doesn't have a name? No tribe, huh?
I help him out.
Just question.
Right,
So you must come from the question tribe.
Thank you, that no sell. Thank you. See, he gave him help. Oh, he from the tribal question? Man, where they at?
The question eyes.
You must come from the question tribe.
What's that, cheap period?
If you have serious questions, you can definitely email us though, at consciousnessassembly@gmail.com. No question about that. You can question.
Yeah, no more distractions. That's enough of that. We know that these contracts, free right, we got to get back to getting people tied back in so we can renegotiate these contracts that our ancestors got out here.
I'm just saying it. I mean, yeah, if sound like, you omnipotent, omnipresent. If that's the case, renegotiate them contracts. If it's that simple, then go ahead and do that. Show us how it's done.
Matter of fact, if it's that simple, Why y'all ain't start your own tribe and move someplace? Why you here? Because we ain't trying to start our own tribes. We turn people into tribes. And that's non-negotiable. We're not coming off of that. I don't know how many times it's been said in meetings, back chats, live streams. We are not renegotiating that. There is no resource that we sit on that will be used for any of you trying to be sovereign or starting your own tribes. And the difference is, see, A2, y'all ain't never seen anything like this before. Keep coming over here. You will be called out. And I'm gonna remind everybody, all our meetings have been recorded. From the days we've been in the door, everything that has been said has been recorded from day one. So keep showing up with the distractions. We can do a whole weekend show and everybody will see where you really stand. And I'm not just talking about you. All of you know who you are. So I advise you, sit down or you're gonna get buried. So moving forward, do what you're gonna do. We really don't care. We're here to help our people stay out of the way.
Anybody got a problem?
No, I don't have problems, I have solutions.
That's it. Wrong set of people, wrong time, wrong place.
Still waiting on that tribal name. No? Okay.
The question on.
Still waiting on that tribal name.
Now back to our regular scheduled program.
Shout out to the chat.
Peace, peace, peace. We gotta remember, do our genealogy. Find our tribes, tie back into our tribes. And we are here to help you find your tribe. Oh, it's Friday, doo-doo. They getting fried. Trust me, I know what day it is. It's Friday. I came prepared with the week this rising. I'm not even flipping them. Toasty!
Look, it's Thursday, but it is still Friday.
No, in my world, it's Friday. See, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, exactly. It do feel like a Friday out here, too.
Mm-hmm.
Man, oh man. They came early with it, though. I like it.
Oh, they like it. We love it. Well, go ahead. Listen, if you want to start your own thing, go ahead. Please do. Please hurry up. Hurry up. Hurry. Please. Please do.
I mean, I'm still trying to figure out, because we've been asking if that worked out anywhere for, you could show it to us and we can stand corrected. We can be stood corrected. No, either way, I mean, I don't know. I mean, just do your thing. If you're going to do it, do it.
Yeah, do your thing.
Just don't.
But let it be known, we do not support that in no way, shape, or form. Have we, do we, or we ever will.
No Waco.
That's not here.
Okay, so
Gladly disagree.
So here's my thing. Can IC Network, can you show me any proof of whether it has actually worked? Okay, so is there any proof of where it has actually worked? I'll wait. So the first question I asked you didn't get answered. So this question I asked you probably won't get answered either. So why are you over here?
Man, question you ever got answered.
His thumb's on mute.
So the first question I asked you didn't get answered. So this question I asked you probably won't get answered either.
Like I said, we can do this. We have no problem answering questions. We just want questions answered back.
So instead of answering my question, he's gonna say he's for people starting their trials. Okay, well, show me a situation where it has worked. Just one. It on this continent, by the way, in the United States. Thank you, because I gotta clarify that. He's for people starting their trials. Okay, well, show me a situation where it has worked. Just one. It on this continent, by the way, in the United States. Thank you.
Oh, so you was told, see, I'm glad we had this conversation. And
hold on, wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
Hold on, wait a minute.
Oh, see, my brother stopped me. I was about to go in.
No, you can definitely do that. That's only gonna take a couple seconds. But I just got deja vu.
Uh-huh.
Are you? Is this a I'm trying to see if I'm listening to like a replay or something. Because you just said I was told, and I had to go in the chat to see if that's what. Yeah, okay. No, you go ahead. It's not a replay. It's live.
Well, Doodoo summed it up, so
Oh man, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to.
yeah. No, he summed it up. I was on do a refresher course, but Doodoo just went straight to the point. So thank you, my brother Doodoo. See, the thing is that I like about this, and I'll explain to everybody what I like about it is keep showing up and doing this. All you're doing is proving why people shouldn't be paying no attention to you. That's it. So moving forward, like you were saying, genealogy is the key. The key to tying back into the land and knowing who you are. And stop letting people tell you. Look for yourself. Look for yourself. Stop letting somebody tell you that doesn't work, and the person that's telling you that doesn't work haven't even tried. What's even worse, people telling you it doesn't work, and they sitting on the card themselves. I mean, come on.
I think that's worse. I don't have a card, and anybody sitting on the card, come on, man. I appreciate you too, brothers.
And again, for those that are sincerely contemplating starting your own tribe, all I ask you is to ask the people who are perpetrating this, can you please show me proof where it has actually worked and is still working in the United States? If they can't show you that, that's a problem.
I'm sure they can show you where it didn't work.
Well, yeah, we got over 120 videos of where it didn't work.
I didn't us to be the ones to show where it didn't work. I mean, you can have
But
them.
maybe we need to. We got to be the ones to go. We going out. We setting up these interviews with these chiefs and stuff on these tribal lands and stuff, so people can see exactly what we talking about. Maybe we need to start showing people the proof, because they're not showing them that it works. And I love my people too much to let my people be led astray. This has to stop.
And that's exactly where they're being led to.
Because I'm gonna say it again. Most of this solving stuff starting your own tribe. It's sad y'all say y'all hate the colonizers, but guess who started that? They started that because they didn't like your ancestors' systems.
Didn't you put a video about that out already?
Yeah. Solving Citizen Movement video is out. Started by KKK members and racists. But that's who y'all following. That's who blueprint you following. But you do so much research, you didn't find that. You have to dig deep for that. Then ain't one of the main perpetrators just get 40 plus years?
44 years.
And ain't he a white Aryan racist dude?
Yep.
Is anybody hearing this? I don't think, man, this
So they sitting here, they're teachers of this whole movement that they're doing. Make no mistake about it, is a white Aryan racist. Is your instructor to start and sell tribes and sovereignty.
Oh my goodness.
But you research though. How long it took us to find that?
What? 15 minutes, if that? 15 minutes.
15 minutes.
Yeah.
Light work. That the dude was teaching. The dude was teaching melanated brothers this from prison. From prison. So y'all wonder why we come out hard against that. Because people are leading our people astray. You hollering, oh, you hate this, you hate anything, you hate the light skin, they the pale face, they this, they that, they this, they that. So why are you using a system that they created?
Basically to get rid of you.
Over the system that your ancestors created. Sovereign citizen movement created by Aryan racists. governments, corporations, tribes created by our ancestors. Ancestors, Aryans. Ancestors, I'm gonna go with the Aryans. You buffoons.
That ain't the A2 I like.
And also too,
No.
for the record, for those that want to try to twist it, because you know how we're good at creating narratives. If you're trying to start a tribe without an existing treaty with the United States, you are trying to start a sovereign nation. So stop it.
Yeah.
Please do. Please. Or don't.
Man,
But
yeah, it's up to you.
don't bring anybody I know with you, please.
Yeah. That's what we fighting for. Our people that y'all pulling down this dangerous spiral.
So I'm gonna say it again for those in the cheap seats. If you're trying to start a tribe without an existing treaty between the United States, you are trying to start a sovereign nation.
And Allah.
An illegal sovereign nation.
An act of war. But don't take our word for it. What do we know? Shoot, what do I know? Doodoo Vision, I can promise you this. What they think they got, they ain't ready for, and I know firsthand family experience. So if you think you're gonna get away with it, go ahead. Cause y'all, if you don't own gun manufacturers and stuff like that, let's see how that's gonna work for you.
Free said it exactly right. It's set up to keep you away from your tribe, to keep you away from your ways, traditions, and code.
You colonizer.
That's basically what the colonizers did.
Yeah. And they perpetrating the colonizers' ways. So who are they? Colonizers looking like me. Now who's the looking ship? It's not about what you look like. It's about what you do. Especially once you have the truth and the information. It's not about what you look like. It's about what you do.
So, is it safe to call them Indian colonizers? I'm just asking. Okay.
Facts. A tree is known by its fruit.
So, if you're trying to create your own tribe, you're an Indian colonizer.
You don't need weapons to start an act of war. A declaration can start an act of war. I advise some of you that think you know to go back and read. I advise some of you who think you know, go back and read the Patriot Act. I advise some of you who think you know, actually learn law. You ain't getting law from being on YouTube from a couple of episodes. Law is forever changing, ever revolving. Just like constitutions, they grow with time, but y'all wouldn't know that.
Do the vision, don't want them. Don't want them. It's no. It makes no sense to warn people that think they know something.
Yeah, we ain't what you man.
Because they come up here. The funny thing about it is, they put something in the chat, but then the back chat is something totally different. Oh, I'm sorry, I wasn't supposed to say that. Because I keep all of my conversations too. So you really don't want to go there. So if I were you, I'd stop.
I tell you, y'all want to play these games? Shit, we don't play games. If we send a shot, Ain't no coming back. Like I'm gonna say again, those of you that want to do that, want to spread that, get out the way. Because if you come over here with it, we're not gonna play with you. Time is of the essence, and we have no more to waste. We're gonna make it quick and painful. Best believe me, you will know what happened. So let it be known now. Cease.
IC Network. I'm gonna tell you like I tell everybody else. I don't associate with people who associate with scam artists. So I don't need to call you. You need to stop associating with scam artists. How about that? I don't associate with people who associate with scam artists. So I don't need to call you. You need to stop associating with scam artists. How about that?
They have no idea.
I ain't the one to play with. Please do not write a check. You're behind can't cash. Please do not write a check. You're behind can't cash.
Super stupid. Hey.
Again, people don't listen when I talk. I said I do not associate with people who associate with scam artists. So if you associate with scam artists, you call yourself a scam artist, then I'm talking about you.
Yeah, hit dogs will be hollering at you, but come on.
But
you don't,
if you are not a scam artist and you associate with scam artists, then I'm talking about you. Either way, I'm talking about you.
Yeah, like you can't put yourself in the proper position in that. It's a 50-50 chance one of them is you. Put yourself.
Come on, the scammers know who they are. Come on, man. Let's stop playing games and everybody know what led all this foolishness, and it don't gotta go down this way. We just telling everybody, listen, your best bet, just back off and let us keep helping our people. Cause I'm trying to tell you, we send a shot. We don't play the debate game. We're not coming on nobody live stream to talk back and forth. We're not coming in your chat to send shots. We are a non-profit organization with an end game of helping Indians and the tribes become self-sufficient. This is more than talk, this is just more than a stream. This stream is just an outlet. So keep playing with it.
They be trying to block that from us.
Really? Like we care about it like that? No, this is where the real work gets done. Going out here talking to these tribes. Going out here helping them become self-sufficient. The positive progress for our people, but what people? Because I don't know who you are. Your people might not be my people.
And some of the people you associate with are not for our positive progress, so we are definitely not uniting with the same people.
And why we having this conversation when you've been in a lot of these conversations back then, and a lot of you heard this. So come on, man. That's what we saying. Y'all, please do not forget. We are not YouTubers. Okay, we are well professionally organized businessmen. every conversation has always been documented. Every conversation, even the ones that you forgot was had.
You ain't forget nothing. Only wants to fill out a questionnaire.
So take this day as the only day for who all got shots and stuff to get it out. Because once we end this, I think there's a whisper.
Don't do it. Please don't do it.
Well, I'll run an 80-hour live stream and nothing but recorded tapes. And we'll see who left when the dust clear. Now we can be humble and do this gracefully. But if y'all want to go to war, this is the wrong group to bring it to. We meant to be here.
So it's time to go get some work done. People got stuff to do. Y'all know the drill. Do your genealogy. Find your tribe. Tie into your tribe. Let us know about it. We'll help you and your tribe. Now, if you're trying to start your own tribe, yeah, we can't help you. We're not going to help you. But if you're looking to tie into your existing tribe, your tribe that's on roll call, the tribes who actually tie into these lands, yeah, we'll do everything we can to help you and to help your tribe. But if you're trying to start your own tribe, I can't do it because you can't show me where starting your own tribe has actually worked. Yeah, we'll do everything we can to help you and to help your tribe. So if you're trying to start your own tribe, I can't do it because you can't.
I just want to make sure that nobody is forgetting that part.
What? No one can show where it's actually worked and where it's still working?
I mean, what more can you say, man? Like, this is kind of get.
Or even that it was started by an Aryan racist.
No one can show where it's actually worked and where it's
Yeah, just try to disprove that. I mean, just tell us we don't know what we're talking about when it comes to that. Somebody, or maybe nobody. I mean, because it's just
ridiculous.
Who are we talking to? I think our chat knows what's going on.
Yeah, I noticed that IC Network, he hasn't addressed that either. I wonder why not.
That's why we say we can answer questions, but will you answer ours in return?
No, that's not. No. The questionnaire. That's the villain name now. The questionnaire.
See, we can take and shots. Y'all know at A2. But can you take ours when we throw them back?
IC Network, can you bring me any proof of where somebody starting a tribe actually has worked and is still working? No questions get answered until you answer that one. Either you can or you can't.
Man, that's a dagger question for a lot of ideologies.
Because if you can't, you're committing genocide of our people. And you are the problem. Because all you're going to do is get our people killed, locked up, and removed from their actual land. You are the problem.
Trying to bring folks with you and stuff. Come on, man. At least had a right.
You Waco thinking backwards Negroes?
Yeah, for real. Look up Waco.
Yeah, he's not going to answer that question. He's not going to answer that question. He's not going to answer that question. No one's going to answer that question.
AKA Aqua Teen Hunger Force coming to get y'all if y'all don't stop playing, trying to be on your own land.
Keep playing. Keep playing.
No one's going to answer that question.
Their motto is, I got guns because they got guns.
But I can tell them this, I know you don't got enough. Trust me, I can tell you what you have to be spending, and that's not even enough.
Yep.
You know, he's not going to answer that one question. Though. He can put up anything. He can put up anything else he wants to. But I bet he don't have enough balls to answer that question. He don't.
And that should be the first question asked.
To anybody out here.
Yeah. And this goes to everybody listening. When these people come to y'all and they be telling y'all about petitions for your own tribe, doing your own thing, please ask them, where's it work? Where's the precedence for this? How many tribes are in existence that started this way? It's just like if you're gonna start a new job, you just don't walk in there and start it. Don't you ask the questions? What's the hours? What is entitled? What's the pay? Huh?
Man,
Don't we do this in this situation? So y'all want to present this start your own thing to our people, but then get all up in a bunch when we address the elephant in the room.
Now, this was funny. He says, "Don't be sure I can't answer the question." If you could have answered the question, you would have.
Stalling.
Yeah. How you gonna waste time saying that but not answering the question? Knowing full well all we want is the answer to the question.
That's the mastery of asking a question 7 times, 8 different ways.
Man.
At the end of the day, if you were man enough to answer the question, you would have answered it. How about that? But since you ain't man enough, don't even bother responding.
There are other people watching, sir.
Yeah, see, this is the thing they don't realize, and I'm gonna let them know how they walk into this trap. They don't realize it's a trap when you come over here with this, because we already know you're coming. We know when people are coming. We know why they're coming. And all we're doing is making sure that the community can see this on record. Because you're not paying attention to the questions that we're asking. You're not paying attention to the solutions that we're putting on the table. See, instead of anybody coming over here addressing the method, the ideology, the process that we're doing, you're coming with distractions.
Like I said, he couldn't answer. So
We'll be moving on.
because here's the beautiful thing about what we do on A2. We don't need you to answer that question to help people. We don't need you to answer that question to help these tribes. We don't need you to answer these questions to help people do their genealogy. So you're not stopping nothing over here, but you are telling on yourself. Just know that.
That's all you doing. You're just telling on yourself. Oh, you don't got a part of nothing. We've been screaming since we've been attacking this assembly. This is a non-profit organization. And most of y'all know the name before it. Don't make us have to pull out recorded information. That's why I say just leave it alone. Let it be. Let it be. And anytime we ever spoke out, come to nobody's ain't doing anything, do we? Don't think that A2 is some pushovers that people can send messages and back chats and emails and run us off the block. We ain't claiming to own the block. We know the block belongs to the people. We know the information belongs to the people. But there's some of you who want to be gatekeepers because you want to stroke your own egos. Where's the transparency? Where's the honesty? How many broken promises were given to people that look like us over the last year from the community? And y'all wonder why there's no progress? Because most of us are still supporting it. Who your family is a good question for you to ask yourself.
And for the record, for those of y'all that don't know, Blackfeet is a confederation of 7 Siouan tribes.
Ooh.
So it's not a tribe. It's a confederation.
Man, y'all better gain some knowledge.
James said somebody else claimed to be Blackfeet too. Blackfoot too.
There's a couple people that be claiming stuff. But we don't say nothing. We just be quiet. Let everybody do their thing. So don't come over here now. Don't get buried.
What Charlie Murphy said? Because you might get embarrassed. Make sure your peoples is there.
You heard?
And also, if I'm not mistaken, Cherokee, there's a Cherokee tribe, there's a Cherokee nation, and there's a Cherokee Confederation.
Yes, there is. But people just throw out the wide umbrella a lot of times.
The rant says, I'm cutting the BS. Starting today, I'm gearing up to go to doctors, lawyers, health professionals, churches, etc., and ask them the questions that need to be asked.
And don't forget when you do that, even the people in your own community you gotta ask. See, we gotta make sure those are the first ones we have to ask. The ones that look like us, that's saying they're here to help. But then everything that comes out and everything that shows differently. Actions speak louder than words.
Remember, there are secrets, there are things that are sacred, and there are things that are shared.
I was a humble Indian until you brought the rumble out. Ooh.
So I ask you, everybody on the chat, can you send me questions that need to be asked to these people? I'm going to keep it raw, direct, no beat around the bush. This needs to stop. Everybody. First question some of the first questions you can ask is, what do they know? Now, if you're talking about professionals, that's a broad statement. That's a broad question. I would start out with asking them if they have Indians in their family, or if they are aware that they have Indian in their family. And you got to realize too, when you start talking about the doctors and lawyers, some questions they are under oath not to give you answers to. That's what I mean. Yeah, start with the lawyers. Some questions they are under oath not to give you answers to. That's what I mean.
Yeah, start with the lawyers, yeah. And you're right, everybody got to be held accountable. And that's why we're saying we can't go out sweeping in front of everybody else's porches until we get our house in order. And our house is out of order. We got too many people who look like us in our house causing mischief. And we've seen before, that's another thing that got us in this jam.
One of the most important questions to ask lawyers is, can you start a tribe without an existing treaty?
Oh yeah, that's the question. Bingo, there you go. And ask them, can you put stolen property in a trust?
Wait. There's people in the community trying to do this.
The ranch said he gonna do it today.
No. I'm talking about what you just said.
Yeah.
You got people, yeah.
Hold on, wait a minute. No. In this community, in the Aboriginal community, trying to put stolen land in a trust.
People
like
think you can go buy land, then put it in a trust. And like you said before, yes. But now that land belongs to a tribe. Who's the rightful owner?
Wait a minute. Okay. Maybe that's why I don't think anybody in our community is trying to do that for real. I mean, we don't have no questions in the chat about that ever. And we don't have anybody saying that that's what they're doing successfully either, so.
Oh yeah, ain't nobody doing it successfully, but you have people, pass it around, you need to do trust. Okay.
That sounds like a waste of funds and resources to me. And some jail time.
Now, if you're dealing with the questions as far as a tribe, yeah, I will go to tribes. Tribes will have a better understanding, or if you can go to Mormon churches. They will have a better understanding of that too. I see network. Till you answer my question, what you saying is irrelevant to me.
Even with the Moore stuff, Michael Robinson, you know what's so funny? Most of them that's even on that don't know the difference between the Moors' religion and the Moors' cult following of sovereign citizenship.
Yeah, because the Moor Science Temple don't promote that.
They denounce it up front. It's a religion.
So YC Network, when you ready to answer that question, come holler back. But all this other rhetoric, stop it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we don't block in the chat, but we do well at ignoring.
Oh, I'll block if you act stupid. So don't get it twisted. I'll block you.
Oh no, well that's
No. I'll block you.
When necessary.
Make me go back to the old me. Whee!
Hey, put
I'll put the boot on.
He's shining the boots right now. I hear it.
Just funny.
Yeah, right. The best places to go would be the tribes, your local tribes. Talk to them because you can actually schedule appointments and they'll talk to you. So for whatever reason, people are under the impression that they can't go talk to these tribes, but you can.
Yeah, schedule a visit.
I see network. Until you answer the question, don't call me ever.
JLC Buckethead. Whoop whoop. Stay recording.
I see network. Until you answer the question, don't call me ever.
Free. Yeah, make me go. I'll revert. I don't mind. Sucker MCs, man, don't get nothing.
Do the vision. He already has my number. We've already had conversations, so he know what it is.
But that's the thing that makes me laugh. You tell me that these contacts people been had. So let's stop playing these games. If we ain't in contact with you, you know why. Come on, man.
He's trying to extend the show, I guess. He loves us. I understand.
Oh, he don't want us to go nowhere?
We got work.
We got work to do.
We got work to do.
Yeah, I'm in New Orleans. This is a business trip. It's not a vacation. Okay, kind of. It's a business trip.
Business and pleasure.
It's half and half. Little bit low.
James didn't block him.
My brother's wish is my command. And like that, he's gone.
Yeah, he had the opportunity to bring the answers, and he didn't want to bring them. He kept bringing questions. Y'all think we playing? This ain't no game.
Cause he feels so lonely now. Ooh, yeah.
I just knew TMH was gonna back you up. I was fighting to get to the mute button. He ain't help.
Say what?
You ain't back him up. You supposed to be the KC to the JoJo.
Man, look. No. I'll be the can't sing to the JoJo. I don't know about the KC.
That's even better. There you go.
You know, they don't realize we have a reputation here for a while. People know that we don't bang on people. We aren't sitting here causing commotion in the community. We're just bringing solutions to help our people, to help the American Indian. You know, but don't get it twisted. You know, and maybe today was meant to put it on notice, because you know we really don't. We stay humble. And maybe through our humbleness, people got it twisted, started to misunderstand what this was. This is not a YouTube stream. Grand Rising, Golden Moon.
What Rand, you gotta realize too, they take oath, and like everybody else, now I'm not defending, I'm just giving you a different perspective. They gotta feed their family. And a lot of doctors, they pay half of their salary in malpractice insurance. So many of them cannot afford to tell the truth. It's something to keep in mind.
Mm-hmm. And then I agree with you, like the doctors and professionals. But I'm gonna say it again, Lorraine. Before we go sweeping in front of somebody else's porch, we gotta sweep in front of our own. We gotta clean up the mess in our own, directly around us first. Because we can't go outside and address nobody else's issue as long as we have the issues of our home. Because what's gonna happen? Well, how you gonna come over and tell me how to run my business and your business not in order? I mean, let's keep that 100, you know? Yes, it's a good idea reaching out, talking to these professionals and stuff. There's nothing wrong with that. But we also got to make sure we got to address our own issues amongst ourselves, the ones that look like us that's perpetrating the BS. Because if we don't get rid of that, you can't negotiate with nobody else.
Rant, here's the situation with that. In order for us to be able to do that effectively, and this is my opinion based off of what I know, and I don't know a lot, but I do know this. In order for us to do that, as far as our culture and who we are, we got to get back to our land. We got to get back to our people, because we only going to be as strong as our nation, as a people. And our ancestors are waiting for us to come home. We got to come home. We got to go home first. If we don't go home, none of the stuff that you're talking will work.
Facts. And I can only speak from what I know. I promise you, relatives, if y'all take the other route, it's not gonna end well. I promise you this. I'm not telling you from reading of a book. I'm not telling you from nobody else's story. I'm giving you first-hand knowledge. It's not going to work. It's going to end ugly for you.
We got to get back to our ancestors. We got to go home. We got to help our tribes make them self-sufficient, so we don't be asking anything. We can make demands, and we can go back to the table and renegotiate these treaties and these contracts. That's the most effective way to do it. It's already been proven. Tribes have already done it.
Mm-hmm. Lorraine, do you know that the reason why the Bush family gets away with what they get away with is because they're tied into indigenous tribes? They are cousins of Chief, what was his name, Corn Planter. Chief Corn Planter is one of their descendants.
And he's from the Mohawk tribe of the Iroquois Six Nations.
Mm-hmm. This is facts. See, the problem is they're able to do a lot of this stuff because they're in their rightful position, and we're not. See, a lot of these people that we keep looking at, that people want to say pale faces and colonizers, a lot of them are the mulattoes of the 16th and 17th, 1800s. That's why before you do anything, you have to tie back in. Because you go after them, they're tied in and you're not. Who's gonna get removed?
You are.
You can't go to war until you get your resources and stuff right. Even if it's a spiritual war, you can't go to war in no shape or form until you get right first. And if you're not in your proper self, your proper state, you're not tied into your tribe, tied into the land, how you gonna win that fight?
Yeah, you're gonna be
when
very.
the people that you're fighting are tied in.
You'll be very spiritually weak if you're not tied into your land and tied into your tribe.
No, you don't, Durant. If you tie back into your tribe, the laws are there. You'll be following tribal laws. See, tribes have a government-to-government relationship with the U.S. It's trade agreements and deals. So you keep saying their system, but do you realize it's your ancestors' system?
They got the system from us, just like they got the Constitution from us, just like they got their bylaws from us. So if that's the case, then it's not their system, it's our system.
been delinquent. We have not been present for the roll call. That's the biggest issue. See, the reason why people can take our place, because they tie back in the tribes on one side, when the majority of us tie back in from any side. But
Hey,
we're
Bones.
not choosing.
Didn't you say there was a sector of Indians or sector called an absentee tribe?
Yeah, I did that video.
And don't
That
tribes
video
go
goes up.
extinct? Hold on. Don't tribes go extinct because they have no members?
Yes, they do.
So if a tribe goes extinct because they have no members, it's not because the people don't exist. It's just the people haven't answered the roll call, right or wrong.
Facts.
So if you're not there to call, if you're absent, and there's supposed to be a room full of Indians in this tribe, and they look at the rolls and ain't nobody there, that tribe is now extinct. So if you're not there to call, if you're absent, and there's supposed to be a room full of Indians.
I feel you. All these people that's causing rumors and misconjunction to keep us back. And that's what we were speaking on. But we have to deal with the ones that's in our communities. The ones that come to these chats, the ones that we know have history in scamming and still scamming and misleading our people. Then we allow them to align ourselves around us, not here. We're not letting them know. We would not move forward with that.
Yeah, I can't go clean the community until I clean my house. My house still got dirt in it. Well, Rant, how about this, bro? How about this? How about pull up on some of these people in the community that ain't doing what they supposed to be doing? How about pulling on some of these people in this community that are scamming people? How about pulling up on some of these people that are in relationships with people that are scamming people and still doing bills because it gives them views? How about doing that first?
Yeah,
I mean,
these chats that we're in on these channels to where we support people have been taken from our people. Well, these chats and channels we go to, where people give themselves titles and disrespecting the ancestors, but we on these channels and in these chats supporting it. That's the problem. These channels we go to where people send money, and I'm not saying people shouldn't get paid, but if you're in here under the disguise that you're helping the community, then where's the transparency on where's the community getting the help? See, I got the emails from a lot of these people out here that screw people over in the community. So let's stop playing this game. And most of us in these chats know who they are. And all we're saying is this: tighten up or get out. If you're here for the real thing, then tighten up. It has to stop. How can we expect anybody to ever take us serious if we allow people to hurt our people and we allow them to keep doing what they're doing because we getting monetary gain off of it, or we feeling famous off of it, or they showing up on streams and stuff, folks? No. This goes for everyone. No one in particular, everyone. Because that's the setback. That's the hold up. See, it's easy to go out here and approach people that's not directly in front of us, but we too scared to approach the people on these channels who made you promises and they don't even talk about it and we just let it go away. Ain't that the same condition? We hold hands, humbaya, humbaya, scream and shout, and 3 days later we let it go. See, we so quick to want to run out and get in somebody else's face. But what about getting in the person's face that's lying to you every day from their channel, that's lying to you every day in their chat? If you can't do that, best believe you ain't going out there messing with nobody. Because if you can't cyberly check somebody, how you gonna check somebody face to face? I'll wait. If it's too hard for you to tell somebody on the keyboard, stop the BS. If it's too hard for you to tell these people until y'all stop perpetrating the madness, until y'all stop showing drama, the worst of our people on this YouTube stream, we will no longer support you. But y'all got the nerve to sit here and say that we're gonna go out physically and do something? We must hold everybody accountable. Because as long as we allow this to keep going, y'all making us all look bad. So stop saying that we have love for our people and love for ourselves, but every day we supporting the BS. We're not the overseers of anything. I'm asking everyone to take accountability. Be the overseer for yourself. Be the overseer of what we allow to represent us. Because some people, the only time they see us is on the screen. The only time they hear us is on the screen. So we gotta make sure what goes out to represent us shows the best of us. And stop allowing this stuff to keep portraying. Anyone that's here that's pulling away from what needs to be done, anyone that's here that's causing distraction or pushing a false narrative that you can build your own tribe, or you can do this and do that and get away with it. You can take tribal lands that don't belong to you and put it in trust. You're scamming. You're leading people astray. You're setting up our youth to be killed for no reason. With these acting militant behind screens. I know what militant is. I lived through that. I know the damages that it caused. Look up Trinidad 1992-93. Doubt me. And I, for one, can't stand anybody that is trying to purposely lead our people to destruction. No one in particular, what I'm saying, Born Free, I'm saying that we have to start holding all of this accountable. We have to make sure what represents us is true. Is the truth. All this so-called drama that's no different than reality shows, we have to put a cease to this. This isn't personal. This is for the love of our people, because it's holding us back. We gotta get away from the drama. Drama ain't putting food on the table for the next generation. Drama is never gonna help you tie back into your tribe, but it's gonna eat your life away. 2020 is around the corner. If there's channels out here that's not helping you tie back into who you are, then what are you doing besides wasting time? Telling you not to participate in the census. Really? So how your children gonna know who the hell you are? Come on. Let's stop acting like tomorrow is promised. We all have a choice. What are you gonna do with yours? That's what I'm calling for. We make sure we clean up our communities. We make sure we clean up our representation. We make sure we clean up our outlets. Yes, we will make mistakes. But a mistake, you admit it's a mistake, you dust it off and you move forward. If these things keep happening, it is not a mistake. I don't care about feelings. Feelings ain't gonna feed our future. I care about what's right. All this self-proclaiming, titles, it has to stop. You wonder why there's no success, because you're saying respect to the ancestors, but in name you disrespecting the ancestors. How is that? There's no balance there. It's nothing but chaos and confusion in that. If you want titles, then tie back into a tribe and bust your behind forward. Work forward. Stop being scared. Stop calling out Caucasians and Europeans, but you're the first one in line buying Jordans and buying the new jewelry and the latest tech. Really? Stop telling people, oh, you don't need to do no research and find out who you are. You can just go take something. When are we gonna start being honest with ourselves? Are we still sitting down waiting for something to fall out the sky? Or you just want to be able to collect some money so you can live fabulous? Ghetto fabulous at that. When is enough enough? When do we become our brothers and sisters keepers? When do we pick that mantle back up? The keepers of the waterways, the keepers of the language, the spreaders of truth. When do we stop pointing the finger at everybody else and point it back at us? When do we show love and compassion to each other? Forget what somebody else shows us. When do we show it to each other? When do we show, as men, respect to our women, and women show respect back to our men, instead of us getting on channels showing the worst of both sides? When do we demand and ask for better? When do we stop supporting the ones that show the worst of us? What's wrong with demanding that if a person puts up a stream that's showing the worst of our community, nobody supports it? What's wrong with asking for that? What's wrong for raising the standards of our neighborhoods? But let me guess, we don't care if the Aboriginal children around the street make it as long as mine make it. Huh? I don't care about my Aboriginal brothers and sisters that may stay 4 or 5 states over from me as long as I'm all right. Then you are the colonizer. You are the colonizer. Facts, David Corey. We are the controllers of what we digest. Ain't nobody else. If something is wrong, don't support it. If it ain't right, don't support it. And they either have to correct it and make it right or go off to oblivion. And if you're here to harm my people, oblivion will be better than you just staying around. Because I'm gonna make it painful. Where's the respect? Where's the honor? Where's the willingness to do the real work? Where's the willingness to realize life is bigger than oneself? When do we realize we had always sat on the answer to our rise? If not today, when? Must we let another generation of our children die for nothing? Must we let the last remaining of our elders die without seeing us make a change? Thanks, David Corey. That's why we must make sure we on code now. It has been stated, A2 has a mission and a job to do. And whether no one supports, we're still going to do it. We don't ask our community for money. We go out as businessmen, talking to these Europeans that they're afraid of, to get contracts to bring it back to our community, to help the Indians become self-sufficient. We didn't come here with our hands out, what somebody needs to give us. We did the research to find out what belonged to us, how it got taken, what's the procedures of getting it back, what's the mechanisms behind all this history. And if you're gonna be honest with yourself, it's nothing more than business. Business contracts that we walked away from, so now they can do what they want to do because we're not participating.
It ain't that hard. Hold each other accountable. Demand that the standards be raised. Stop lowering the standards and expectations for our brothers and sisters. If they doing dirt, call them on it. You ain't gotta call them on it live, but pull them to the side and ask them what's up with that. Why you do that? What's going on? It could be something as simple as a misunderstanding, or they could have been involved in something that they don't know. But if we don't say something about it, or at least ask them why they doing it, then we're just as bad because we're complicit. I'm not being complicit for stuff like that. I'm not being complicit for no BS. And for those of you out there, y'all know who I'm talking about. So,
to let you know, real quick, I ain't mean to cut you off.
No, you good.
Y'all know how transparent A2 is. The bylaws and stuff, once everything is submitted, it will be on the website. Check it out. And TMA, by design, isn't this, we're putting this together to outlive us? Isn't it designed that man, one of us make a personal gain from this?
Well, you can't have a personal gain if you were the creator of the 501c in the first place. So by mere design, whoever starts a 501c should not and cannot benefit from it, because if you do, then it's a fraudulent 501c and it will get revoked. That's the way it's designed. So to answer your question, no one's gonna financially benefit from it.
So keep sending shots. You're looking foolish. I guess on that one, we went in, huh?
No one's gonna financially benefit from it.
Any closing remarks?
Man, where am I?
You know where you at. Stop playing.
Yeah, I know where I'm at. If y'all have any questions whatsoever, please email us at autonomousassembly@gmail.com. Visit the website if you need any help with your family tree. Man, y'all know what it is. Y'all have a great day.
Anything else from you, TMA?
Everybody's focus, if you're about this indigenous movement, if you're about the American Indian movement, should be about getting people to tie into their tribes and find their tribes. If that's not what you're about, then what are you doing? That's just my perspective on it. If we're really about being Indians, American Indians, or Atantas, or whatever you want to call it, then the first step should be tie into your tribe. Do your genealogy, tie into your tribe. The second step should be, let's help these tribes become self-sufficient along with yourself, so that we have a stronger position to negotiate. Because right now, our ancestors are calling out for us, and some of us are too scared to answer. So if you're scared, say you're scared. So if you're not at least going to admit you're scared, get out the way. I relinquish the mic.
And on that note, like I said, your genealogy, tie back in. I think we said all that we can say. So until the next rising, always fun with the relatives. Peace and love. Peace.
Peace, y'all.